I didn't really invent sharism until 2008. Before that, I'm a blogger. I started to share my ideas with many people, but all the people challenged me. What's the benefit to me if I share my information, my knowledge, and try to give my ideas to other people? This kind of challenges, I think, is very reasonable because most people living in our world today, we are living in a commercial world with a lot of patent, with a lot of copyrighted stuffs, and the big companies challenge this problem as well. But when we think about this, because we see a lot of grassroots publishing emerge in the past, I have to say 10 years, roughly, with the emerging of Web 2.0, we see a lot of web services promoting people to share their productions, their creativities. And we see that those kind of people, they didn't really lose anything, in their life. Instead, they got more reputations, and some of them got really, physical jobs, physical, returns from their sharing. So I try to explore the philosophy behind that, why people share more and get more from that. And eventually I found that it's very, very concrete return for many people. Like technical people, they share their codes online, and the community started to follow him to do some more bigger things, like the open source movement. And for those artists, if they share their works or their half works, more people will come to visit it, and their exhibition could be more popular, and their works could be more buzzed, in the society. And this can generate their real world return at last. So I think that there must be something we lost in our society evolution, because we always focus on those money-chasing stuffs directly. If my work cannot be sold, it means that my work is not good. This philosophy, I think, lasts for several centuries already. But it's actually not true, because there are a lot of things not really justified to be valued. So in the internet age, we found that most people try to give something, either a product or service or business, a really fair valuation about that. Yeah, I think they are quite cooperative to each other. They are not confronting to each other. Because, for example, like in China, is a very pirated country. We can buy any pirated software from the market, from the street, any video movie programs on the street, on small shops, but no any legal enforcement to try to stop that. It's something very popular in other countries, also on internet. What's the problem behind that? Because people keep, don't care about their identity, because they only sell something to exchange money back. However, on sharism world, we encourage people to respect other people's properties, other people's copyright, because they have their identity behind the works. So we try to enforce the philosophy that I share my work, but I love people to share it by attributing my name. So this kind of sharing path, give people a chance to track back who created initially at the beginning of the work. I didn't really think about blogging can generate so much potentials when I started my blog. I just want to show my friends and some of my potential audience to see that, oh, we can use a simple tool to share ideas, or to be public, or maybe to be as a learning tool to record your daily learnings. So it's a kind of very simple and naive idea. However, after 2 years, I changed my mindset totally, because I see over 500,000 Chinese people join this movement of blogging because of the long-term repression of media in China. And people don't have any channels to publish their ideas, their opinions to the society. So I think I rethink, the meaning of the blogging after 2008, after 2005, sorry, because more and more Chinese people started their blogging based on our promotion, based on our advocacy, and we realized that it's very important tool to Chinese people, or maybe to other countries. So we try to develop more programs based on this political agenda or social agenda. We want more Chinese people to study, to talk in different diversified topics, and try to connect to each other, build a very different social structure rather than the traditional hierarchical system. Right now, it seems very exciting because there are over 60 million Chinese bloggers in the internet sphere in China, versus 400 million internet users there. It means that more and more Chinese people, they are not read only. They are becoming read and write, bi-directional internet users, and it could be more interesting to see the future potential political, meanings, and from that. So I changed from my initial, beginning of my blogging. Yeah, I call it emergent democracy. It's quite different from traditional representative democracy, like the internet guru George Ito said. It's the representative democracy means people has to wait. After they're voting, they have to wait for the performance to be conducted. In the meantime, they can do nothing about that, right? Only those representatives can do this. However, in the sharism age, maybe in the next several decades, we can see more and more people. They will join immediately, real time, consulting to the governance, to our policy makings, and to social problems, and they become the real representative of themselves. That's a quite different democracy we can see, and for different countries there are different stages, in this emergent democracy. To those traditional democracy countries, it's something enduring because they have to fight with their existing system. To some countries like in China or the recent Middle East, people see a quite leapfrog. Jump from the old traditional system, totalitarian system, directly maybe to digital democracy because of their sharing. And anytime they see problem, they know how to use digital tools. But for those developed countries, maybe something even tougher, because they are customized to the current system and they have to adapt to the new kind of philosophy in mind. I think they have different roles, in the knowledge sharing or information sharing. The blogging is still as a center of information because it takes longer, the content size. And the Twitter and other social media channels, including Facebook and other publishing tools, they become a marketing channel, to try to get people's attention and back to the content itself, including Wikipedia, blogging. They're becoming a knowledge distiller, to give us a chance to accumulate our intelligence together. But at the same time, we need those marketing tools to get more people attention, to go back to those kind of knowledge base. And so I think maybe in the future, more people will become Twitterers or Facebook users, but there are still maybe 10% or 20% of internet users, they focusing on writing, more accumulate knowledge and try to share more knowledge based on that. I think in the internet age, more and more common, features emerged, whether in East or whether in West. However, because of the traditional legacy from the history, from the different political system, I think China, as well as some other Asian countries, they're still trying to be a listener or just a watcher, instead of the speaker or writer, online, because of they have a lot of fears from their traditions, either for religious issues or from their cultural issues. Like in China, the traditional culture, don't really encourage people to share and talk publicly too much. It means some risks to their life, or maybe the more constraints, to their life, because people like those moderated personalities, not those outstanding stuff, not those too marginalized stuffs. It means most of people living in the middle, status like that, not a even distribution of the society. So it's changing anyway. I mean, the internet gives Eastern people more chances to outspeak, to be more, open and free to express themselves and to be more individualized. To some countries like in China, because the collectivism, is dominant a long time. People don't show their personalities. All the people dress in the same color, dress in the same, style, and they don't want to be marginalized. They don't want to be individualized. But today, you see the young people in China, even in Middle East, even in some other Asian country, they started to realize that internet is a platform to make them famous in one night because of their individualism, because of their personalization. These kind of things happen so many times. We call those kind of people minor genius. They're not maybe famous, very important person or famous or really talented people, but they have their own specialty, their differences. So they can become 1 minute, celebrity, next minute, or who knows, So I think it's bring more Eastern people become more westernized. At the same time, the culture in Western community become returned. This is a cycle, all the time. And I see more and more Western people, they become more conserved, more, collectivism, because they want to seek some protections based on those problems of internet, because we see too advanced development in some other countries, too easy to access information, too easy to publish and anonymously, doing something, like the recent WikiLeaks, etc. And people see those radical polar things happen, so they started to reflect, what's wrong with the problem. Is the problem with internet or problem with society? So these kind of things always becoming a cycle, and it's a good thing because we can improve together, to try to collaborate together, to try to develop some new technologies and new legal system to protect Earth. So I think it's a good thing. I'm trying to explore the journalism 2.0 with those media researchers, journalism researchers, because I think we definitely have to face the new media world now, even to traditional media, to the new media commerce. We should work together, because the traditional journalism, they have very good established professions. On that, they pay attention to the quality of the content a lot, and they know the norms of the journalism a lot. But still, there are a lot of information lost in the traditional journalism, because the channel is limited and the pages are limited. You cannot extend the information space enough, although many of them are taking advantage of internet to try to publish content. But they are still using the traditional model of working processes on that. However, I think that the citizen journalism are being the the complementary stuff to the traditional journalism and try to cover the truth, from different angles. Maybe more, profound information will be released based on the sharing of citizen journalists. So the professional journalists, I think they should learn from that, firstly, and they should be act as the citizen journalists themselves to use the new tools, to use the new publishing methodologies. Also, I think that the citizen journalists, they can learn from the professionals of the traditional journalists. So these two words, if they can connect well to each other, and based on the new publishing channels to different peoples, to their different devices, I think that journalism will evolve into a new age. Whatever it called, it can be a journalism 2.0. And I think the picture of equivalence will be, and justice will be easier to be reached. Of course, it's still ideal, but I think it's becoming more and more realistic with more, reporters from any corners. Like the recent, story from Egypt, when the official media, whatever they are, they say that there's no people dead. However, and after 10 minutes, and a piece of mobile phone video could be published on YouTube to prove it's misleading, right? So these kind of things you can use together to prove something true or false, right or wrong, etc.